Do you want your crosshair placement to look like this? But even if you know you should aim at head level, your shots end up looking like this.
Oh, I can't hit right now.
After coaching hundreds of players to Immortal and Radiant, I managed to dive deeper into crosshair placement, and I discovered 5 truths that no one talks about. Every video on YouTube tells you just to aim at head level, but no one mentions things like audibles, radar usage, and even utilities. These unknown factors are crucial in guiding your crosshair right where the target is about to move. So in the hopes that you'll finally get some robotic crosshair placement like game, let's start with the first truth. The radar gives you better crosshair placement than you may expect. Radar usage is one of the most essential information gathering tools in the game, and it's also one of the most important tools in knowing where to put your crosshair when going for trades. This isn't something limited to crosshair placement, but it's a hidden truth that can help you with entering sites or trading your teammates. And the best way to see this in action is to watch a player like Zekken absolutely stomp the competition to highlight exactly how it's done. Zekken is the hard, fast entry into B site on this Ascent pistol round, and for his first magic trick, he gets 2 entry kills into the site with his updraft classic play. However, something you may not have noticed is how often Zekken looks directly at the minimap. It's not for long, but it's important for him to comprehend exactly who he needs to look for when entering the site. That helps him get the first kill on KJ and for him to be fully prepared for the Sova. After this, he sits back and waits for his teammates to get contact, swapping to a trade position while staring directly at the radar. He then goes for a kill on Yoru, who is called out market by John QT. Keep in mind, he still pre-aims market in this spot because he's aware of the Yoru potentially throwing the clone, so the utility and radar are informing where Zekken puts his crosshair. Then, for his final kill, he goes for a minimap based trade, swinging off of his teammate's contact and playing for the round win. While his radar was completely covered, you can still see the amount of times Zekken uses it to win his ranked games. That also means players like Zekken understand this next fundamental truth behind crosshair placement, and that is the importance of audio cues. A clear and often underrated aspect behind successful crosshair placement is audible cues. Valorant, like other tac shooters, has an insane amount of sound effects you are subjected to. Flashes, smokes, trips, cameras, drones, dogs, and the list can just go on and on for what you have to listen for when playing. However, while those audio cues are important, the most fundamental part of crosshair placement comes from character audio cues. Anytime your enemy makes a step on a new surface or makes a sound with a specific ability that's exclusive to them, that can give away key information that makes crosshair placement easier overall. Take Icebox for example. There are a ton of different surfaces you can hear across the map to distinguish steps, such as metal or snow. Each of these different audio cues can tell you exactly where to hold your crosshair during an engagement. Now imagine if each time you hear the audio for a distinct location, it's like someone getting pinged by a Sova dart or a fade eye. Imagine exactly where their head and position will be based on the audio cue given. You can then pre-aim before a swing or hold the angle that they're going to swing from based on that very specific sound from moving, shooting, and jumping. Let's look at Laz, formerly from Zeta Division, as a great example of this. Laz has a timing pushing into A site in a 2v5 situation and gets the first 2 kills as shown. He used the audio cues from reloads to know when it was safe and where to generally put his crosshair. What guarantees his next kill is this very important sound cue in Heaven. He hears the jet crossing from Heaven into Attic, forcing him to commit to decisive crosshair placement and anticipate where Jet must go in order to engage him and his teammate. You can even see the imaginary Sova dart scanning Jet if you watch where his crosshair placement moves to after the first 2 kills. In fact, for the very last kill before his ultimate gets clove, you can see those same pings from the Cypher camera of his teammate, showing that clear audio-visual connection in real time based on the utility. I know all these cues might be a bit overwhelming, and on top of that, it's not always clear how much your crosshair placement or even your game sense may be holding you back. Identifying our own mistakes is hard, and climbing ranked is even harder. So to make it easier for players who are serious about improvement, I built the Immortal Roadmap program. Inside, my team of a dozen Radiant and VCT coaches can help you identify your biggest bottlenecks and provide a clear roadmap to rank of 500 RR in 10 weeks guaranteed or your money back. If you're interested in the highest level of Valorant coaching available, click the link below to book a free assessment call with me or one of our coaches to check your tracker and see if we'd be a good fit. Okay, now that we understand how the minimap and audio cues affect our aim, let's discuss the importance of utilities in crosshair placement. There are some obvious examples of how utility helps with crosshair placement, like an actual Sova dart ping or Cypher's tripwire. But what isn't as obvious is the information you can gather from the utility every other agent uses. Take Omen as an example. If he was trying to help his team get into, let's say, B Heaven on split, then he would use his flash from market in an ideal execute. If an Omen, Breach, or another kind of agent who can throw utility through walls start market for a B split split, you can infer the direction they will go next based on that piece of utility. So in this case, you can infer that an Omen would most likely go B main to help the players in B heaven take the site. If you don't see the Omen, say after 10 seconds or less, then you can assume he's still market or move to mid instead. When you can read and predict your opponents based on their utility, it makes it easier for you to take specific fights with your crosshair in the right place. Let me show you another example to clarify the point. Now, instead of an Omen on split, we have a Sova darting while rotating sights on ascent on defense. When a Sova throws his dart while rotating, it indicates that the Sova is generally coming through to heaven to play off of his dart and to help his team flood for the retake. Even if he can go tree or stay B if needed, it can give you direct inferred information on reading what the enemy is going to do, where they are going, and where you can hold your crosshair to deal with that player. The simpler and more general you can make your conclusions, the more consistent the results will be with your crosshair placement. So with that being said, there's another even simpler truth that everyone has access to, which can help you with your crosshair placement. The fourth truth is that no matter how good your crosshair placement is, you still need to understand the pace and mouse control required to shoot accurately and capitalize on proper crosshair placement. If you aren't fundamentally understanding how to use the weapons in Valorant, the movement timings, or your utility, you can start to fumble easy fights where your crosshair placement is actually pretty good. Think about it like this. You can have great passive aim, right on head level, correct elevation, the correct distance from the wall, everything. However, if you struggle with your movement timings, then you'll miss the shot because your bullets just aren't going to be fully accurate. Or let's say you spray your whole mag from 50 meters away, you're going to whiff the kill. And even worse, if you're feeling roles you have no idea how to play, then you may be too focused on using your utility rather than the gunfights themselves. This is a huge reason why when you're playing DMs or TDMs, you need to focus on the fundamentals and have clear-cut goals when practicing. The idea of applying fundamentals beyond crosshair placement to maximize the value of your crosshair placement is more like a truth within a truth. An example of applying fundamentals to improve your crosshair placement starts with identifying specific weaknesses in your gameplay. If you're still learning crosshair placement itself, it's helpful to focus solely on that during regular deathmatches. Avoid TDMs since they don't let you learn the maps as thoroughly. Use this time to study reference points and tricks that support having consistent passive aim. And on the other hand, if you're already familiar with the maps and have a solid understanding of crosshair placement, then you can shift your focus. At that point, working on pacing with rifle bursts or taps becomes a more useful goal. Goals can be anything from pacing, movement, to as simple as not pulling out your knife when you play deathmatch or TDM. No matter the goals you set, you can't mindlessly run around going for fights every time you practice. If you struggle with active practicing like this, allow yourself one mindless DM where you aren't goal oriented to warm up, but then later focus your next set of DMs on one or two specific goals. That can help you get into the mindset to improve specific skills like your crosshair placement. And this also brings us to a harsh but very real truth behind crosshair placement, and that is that no one's crosshair placement will ever be 100% perfect. No matter how much you practice, prepare, or try, you'll never be at 100%. So stop expecting yourself to be at a perfect head level at all times for all fights. Myself and other Radiants or pros would say the same thing, but that wouldn't be a reason not to practice it. In fact, that's all the more reason why you should practice it, because even people who have played the game for thousands of hours strive to be better in something that is seemingly so simple. With all the techniques and more complicated ideas behind crosshair placement, you can one day improve yourself enough to be better than you ever expected. As long as you're putting consistent effort in, you will improve your crosshair placement in due time. That's it for this video, and if you liked it, check out this other video that I've made about aim. Thanks for watching.